Wait your seats. The program will start soon. milestone for the Tshwane Society of Advocates. So we're about to begin in a short little while, but I need to just quickly run through some house rules with you guys as well. So first of all, we've got a lot of cameras here today because this event is actually going to be live streamed, okay? So you guys are like our live audience, and we got another audience that, of course, is joining us virtually. So please be sure to bear that in mind as, of course, the entire program goes through. We will, of course, have both of this happening at the same time. So the live stream is happening while this event is happening as well. So in that, then I'd like to just remind everyone to just have your phones on a setting that will not disturb the program itself. So if you can put that either on a do not disturb, a silent, or any other setting that you prefer. Other than that, some extra rules. So not really rules, but announcements. The ablutional facilities are right there to my left-hand side. That's where the restrooms are. We've got refreshments right there at the back. And at the end of the evening, we'll actually have a lovely dinner prepared for you on the 3rd floor. So please bear that in mind, but I will, of course, remind you as the day goes on as well. So for now, please do relax. We are about to kick off the actual program in a short little while. Then I'll do like a whole introduction and everything, and then you'll pretend to be excited like you saw me for the first time, and we'll do that whole thing. All right, cool. Deal? Deal. Ladies and gentlemen, the official program is about to begin. Please settle down and find your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, a final call for everyone to please find your seats as we start the program.
Of collegiality, all members of the society. It is from this commitment that this evening, in celebrating our formation, we look to you to engage with us on the theme, a reflection on the past, present, and future of the South African legal profession. As we continue to strive to follow in the footsteps of those before us, we are alive to the reality that more still needs to be done in achieving real and evident transformation of South Africa's legal profession. Therefore, at the center of this evening will be a panel discussion which will engage in an open conversation about the historical, current influences, and challenges of South Africa's legal system. We look forward to your input and participation in this important discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host for this evening, Weza Matomane.
Yeah, I love you guys. Man, thank you guys so much. It's like we didn't rehearse this at all. I love it. By the way, my name is Weza Matomane, but for tonight you can call me Weza That Guy. But you need to use the voice. You're like, wow, that was a great MC. Hey, what was his name again? Weza That Guy. Like, yeah. So yeah, every time you just do that thing with the voice. You know what I mean? Great, guys. I'm so excited to be here. It is, of course, as you've heard the voiceover say, the launch of something quite exciting, which is the Tshwane Society of Advocates. And of course, the theme for today is exactly as you heard. You know, we're reflecting on the past, we're talking about the present, and of course, the future of the legal profession within South Africa. So this is something quite exciting. It is, of course, quite a milestone, and we'll be celebrating that with all of you here present today as well. By the way, you all look quite amazingly fantastic today. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. Yeah. To everyone joining us virtually as well, we welcome you to this fantastic event. There's quite a lot that we've got planned for you, a mouth-watering program. But to kick things off, I'd like to welcome an amazing South African talent. In fact, she's so amazing that at the age of 11, she won South Africa's Got Talent. Yeah, I'm telling you, she beat the whole South Africa at age 11. So you just understand the amount of talent that is in this sheer human being right here. Other than that, she's also won Summer Awards as well as Sadma Awards. So please put your hands together and welcome on stage Butlali Buikanyo.
The gates have opened. The gates to a society of advocates that are passionate, powerful, and poised. A society that strives for transformation and legal excellence. founded on the ideals of Ubuntu, the ideals of a democratic, fair, and equal society for all its people, founded on the ideals that those who came before us fought for, rooted in the concepts of our rainbow nation and restoring dignity and justice for all its people. The Tshwane Society of Advocates, the center stage of legal excellence and transformation. Nkadimeng ditsebe tlheng ma-Afrika ke lo bolelle ka bagaka ba Tshwane ke raya bone ba itse thuto le ba itse mokwalo wa molao. So listen to the rumbling drum beats. See the footprints of those that came before us as we open up the doors to make way to celebrate your greatness and your excellence. For it all started in 2019 when a group of advocates saw the need for transformation in the legal sector, for racial injustices and to fight equality and equity. It all started with a passion, a burning passion deeply within you, a fire ignited because for you, transformation was necessary. For you, legal excellence was your calling, your purpose. It all started with a dream to have a society of advocates that are passionate and purposeful. For you are determined and deliberate. You spent countless hours in preparation with blood, sweat, and tears you endured. So here's to you, here's to opening up the doors to make way for your greatness and excellence. For they may have tried to make you doubt, they may have tried to break you with their bitter words, but your values are unbreakable. Your spirit is resilient. Your determination tells the world quite loudly that you cannot be contained. For you are a force to be reckoned with. You carry a dash of inspiration, alluring even when you're not trying. So their hateful words do not define who you are. Their bitter margins do not limit you. You stand the test of time, for you are made of pure gold. So here's to you, here's to opening up the doors to make way for your greatness and excellence. For the journey in the legal world is not easy, but even when the going got tough, you kept going and going and going. So City, halala, welcome to your center stage of justice and equality, rewriting the narrative and inspiring the next generation of legal minds. The Tshwane Society of Advocates, City, halala, here's to you. Thank you.
An absolutely fantastic performance and a beautiful way to really kick things off. And it was so beautiful just hearing her wonderful voice with those really great words echoing throughout this building, which is certainly something quite fantastic. So thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause one more time, please. All right, so a couple of things to remember, hashtags and so on. I see a couple of you have already been taking pictures and videos. So the hashtag for today is hashtag TSA launch event. So that is the hashtag you can use throughout all the social media accounts. And if you wanted to tag the actual society, it is as simple as Tshwane Society of Advocates on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm sure you'd find them on LinkedIn with the same as well. So now to give us an official word of welcome and of course open today's proceedings officially, can we please put our hands together for the chairperson of the society? Please put your hands together for Mr. Mpaga.
Thank you very much, Weatherman. To the former Deputy Chief Justice, Dikgang Moseneke, who is on his way. He's just delayed, as we know that an esteemed man like him cannot be late. He is on his way, and I think we'll recognize him when he's here. And to Judge President Malambo in his absence, he has given us an apology that he just arrived this morning and he's not feeling well, and he's scared that he can come here and all of us may have COVID-19. So I said to him, please rest, and we want to, STSA, to thank him because he has been more than a judge president to us. He's been a friend. I remember when we were discussing the recommendations for our SILKS candidate, him and Deputy Judge President Ledwaba, we phoned and he said, can we please come and address you and discuss our candidates? They said, no, don't come here, we are coming to you. So we feel so humbled and want to thank him in absentia for his humility and kindness and his leadership. In actual fact, we supported him when he wanted to be elevated to the Constitutional Court, but we're not sure whether we want him to go there or to remain with us. So I don't want to say that the outcome, whether it suits us or not, but we thank God that he's still our Judge President. To Deputy Judge President Ledwaba, thanks so much for attending this occasion. I know that you're very busy, but we want to welcome you and recognize you. Deputy Judge President Shilam Patlele, we come from Mamelodi together. Both the Judge President Ledwaba, oh my God, I can't believe that Mamelodi is now producing a Deputy Judge President. And we are praying very hard and we'll give you our support to be the next Judge President of the Mpumalanga High Court. And we also have our Solicitor General, who will also give us our keynote address this evening. We want to welcome him, and we want to welcome him in this new position. And it's not an easy one, very difficult one, but thanks for gracing our occasion. And we have today our esteemed members of the panel who will be dealing with this difficult topic that we have put forward. Kathleen Maloto-Dlepu, thank you so much. The former or the first president or chairman of the LPC. Thanks for the sterling work, and as you continue to serve in the council. And we have Professor Barney Pityana. Thanks so much for coming. And we know about your sterling work as chairman of the Human Rights Commission. Thanks so much for having laid that foundation in very difficult times. We have also among the panel members our own advocate Andrew Masombuka. We have put him there because he's a rabble-rouser, and we think that he'll add value to the panel. And we've got Mayor Ramonyalioa, who is also with us, and I think we learn a lot from the discussions. And Devon, you're welcome, Mr. Vacant. So I hope that also you will enrich the discussion this evening. And then Mr. Dunga's Mashilo, who is with us also, welcome. The facilitator of the panel discussion, Mr. Vuyo Mvoko, at any given time, he has been available to us, and I think this time we will give you the best whiskey available. And we welcome also the officials from the Legal Practice Council. I also got a phone call from the deputy chairperson, Advocate Zatsawana. He says he was busy in arbitration. He may be late, but maybe he'll be with us this evening. And we have got also officials from the National Prosecution, and we welcome you in this occasion. We have also amongst us the Master of the High Court, who has joined us. And we also welcome, most importantly, officials from the State Attorney and also our briefing attorneys, which is very, very important. I want also to welcome Mr. Leatherin, the chairperson of the Pretoria Bar. Thanks so much for being with us. We as at TSA, we believe in collaboration. Etienne, one of our mentors, we've worked together quite a lot We learned a lot. And we also want to recognize the fact that most of us at the TSA come from the Pretoria Bar. That's where they laid the foundation. And we want to recognize that your involvement was not in vain in making sure that we acquire the necessary skills. And we'll keep on teaching the others. Thank you so much for that and your leadership, Mark. Thank you so much. And I think it's with Mr. Shaba, the Deputy Chairman. You're welcome also. Shaba SC was my pupil. I think he will accept that. And I see that he has been moving around. He's got a book that he has written. He says, from farm and garden boy to senior counsel. So I've not read the book. I'll still find out what is it all about. So thank you so much, and you're welcome with us here. We also welcome the chairperson of the Polokwane and Mpumalanga, our esteemed colleague. I don't know, he was here with us now, moving around. And I appreciate, oh, yes, welcome, Mkari. Thank you so much, SC. And then we also have our chairman of the AFT, Tshwane, who is also with us here. And our partners from Collab, who are responsible for this wonderful building, our landlord. Thank you so much, Stace, and your group. You have really made us feel welcome and very important. And let me also welcome our Silks members and members of our sister bars from Pretoria, Polokwane, and Babasa. Thank you so much for gracing this occasion, and colleagues and friends who are here with us. So, without much ado, as we continue to prepare for the panel discussion, it's very, very important that I introduce amongst us our sister, a 14-year-old. She has already authored 2 books, so she'll be introducing basically the panel discussion and giving us a very enlightening speech. Rebeti Kungwani, please come and inform the audience. Thank you so much.
Bold, colorful fashion statements, makeup hacks, YouTube vlogs, TikTok dance challenges, daring and unconventional hairstyles that adorn the politically aware minds of the generation that does not cease to have everyone's jaws dropped. We are Generation Z, popularly known as Ama 2000. We are the future. We are the heartbeat you hear when the hope and dreams of South Africa catch their breath and finally come back to life. The South African youth faces a number of challenges, from high unemployment to education inequality, a sense of hopelessness to identity crises. Despite this, South Africans still come together to have a chuckle here and there about something political, a meme, or to talk about a new reality show. And yet again, despite the issues we have as a country, we are well known for our relentless pursuit of excellence. Think of Sinethemba Mthembu, who has been running her own law firm since she was 25 years old. Or Zinhle Baleni, who is currently the youngest person to be admitted as attorney at 23 years old. Or Thuso Mbedu, a reputable actress who is adamant about growing her global presence. Or better yet, Stephen Horn, the prolific 31-year-old director and producer who has received countless accolades for his work. It is imperative to say their names, to let their names grow as roses on our tongues, so that young people keep believing that excellence exists and it is possible to achieve. I started writing because I was tired of having to look up to adults writing books for me. I wanted to be the next child author, the next big thing, the next inspiration and leader, the next moment. I write because I enjoy as the pen flows on my paper, and I don't have to worry about anyone telling me what to write about or correcting me. I write because it allows me to reflect and page through my book of self-discovery in awe. Writing provides an escape for me when reality becomes too complex. This is what the youth needs, to be given the platform to express, explore, create, and most of all, be seen and heard. Being given the platform to express myself has afforded me the opportunity to go on Power FM, The Espresso Show, to win the African Authors Child Award, to work with the MEC of the Department of Education, and be part of the international education and advocacy organization Global Citizen in 2021. Dance, my moon to my darkness, my water in the desert. I dance to feel the air in my hair as I jump off the ground. I dance to feel the music vibrations through my body. I dance to laugh at myself when I slip and fall. I dance because dance is part of me. My biggest inspiration is Michaela du Prince, because I once found myself in a position where I wanted to quit dance because I felt out of place, alone, and different because of the color of my skin. When I first read her book, Hope in a Ballet Shoe, as a ballerina myself, I realized that I was not the only one who has felt this way. Her book convinced me to stay at my studio and show them who Riabete really is. And because of this decision, in June 2019, I went to Miami, Florida to represent South Africa and compete against other countries. Through pain, tears, and bruised ballerina feet, I came back with 2 trophies. And next year, I will be flying to Croatia to compete once again. All of this would have not been possible if I didn't have a village of adults leading me towards my light. When I step off the stage, forget my accolades, forget the places I have traveled to, forget the influential people I have rubbed shoulders with, forget my ability to create new worlds with my writing. And I am light on my feet. But remember one thing. This is all possible because of the older generation that I have been surrounded by. The youth need you to hear them, applaud them, affirm them, and most of all, to guide them. You hold the defibrillator to bring South Africa and its youth back to life. As I stand here in full ballerina poise, pen in place of my spine, I'm taking all of this in, this excellence, this representation, this magic, this hope. Me being here makes me feel capable, empowered, affirmed, inspired, and seen. I hope you feel that too.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Amma 2000. Give them a round of applause one more time. Thank you so much, Riabetswe. That was absolutely fantastic indeed. And it is certainly such a great reminder of just the power of the seat that you sit on today to really pave the way for the future, because the future can only look brighter when we do indeed take action today. So this, I think, is yet again another milestone that really shapes the future, and so that the future advocates will, of course, have a better tomorrow because of the current ones that are here today. So thank you very much again, Riabetswe. We appreciate that. Yeah. So now to give us a word of support, a message of support, in fact, we're going to please welcome on stage our Solicitor General. And please put your hands together for Dzisani Panelani. All right, about that. So it's time for the ad break. Yeah, so while we wait, I'll get a thumbs up pretty soon if we do indeed have the person in the building. But I can tell you a thing or two about this voice that you keep on hearing. A couple of you have been like, "Hi, man, I think I knows you, man. This voice, it sounds familiar, man. Where do I knows you from?" You know, every now and again, well, let me start the story from where it started, right? So I come from, my mom and dad come from rural Eastern Cape, and we grew up in Masiza. That is a small town, like a little part of a township which within a bigger township, which is Sebokeng, right? I come from Sebokeng, and when I was in the township area, now when you go to school, creche vibes. They don't teach you the full alphabet, A to Z. No, not for what. And I'm sure a couple of my born before technologies here remember. All they teach you is A, E, I, O, U. Yeah, she remembers. She was even reciting it with me. Thank you. So that literally is all they teach you. So, but now here's the thing. When my mother got to school to come fetch me, the teacher said, "Hey, Mrs. Matumane, your child needs to go to a suburb school." My mother's like, "Why?" It's like, "No, he's wasting his time here." "Why?" No, come listen here. Class, let's go. And then the class went, the normal stuff. And then they said, "Weza, now it's your turn. Mamel. Weza, your turn." And I probably sounded like this, 5 years old. A, E, O. They're like, "Yabon, suburb, please, suburb school." Yeah, so voiceovers for me started at a very young age. I used to be that kid walking around with my mom and my aunt in fruit and veg, and I would say things like, "Try our bananas for just R9.99. And my mother was like, "Hayi boy, ntoni wena? Lahlelo zingqondo. Tyhini. Sijongisa ngabantu apha. Lo mntana." And I was like, one day I'm going to make money doing this. They were like, "Oh." Today I'm the voice that you hear now and again on ads like, "Only on Supersport, your world of champions." Oh, that dude. Yeah. Those guys, Yeah, so whether it's that one or whether it is something like at ShopRite, we know that January can. Oh, that guy. Kanti is a black guy. Cho. I can see Meneer van Wyk is like Cho. Meneer van Wyk, it gets worse. I even take the Afrikaans jobs. Yeah, sometimes you might hear an ad that sounds like this. It starts off as English, "Get help fast with Namola." Then it goes into Xhosa. "Fumana uncedo ngokukhawuleza neNamola." Then it goes into Afrikaans. "Hulp is net oomlikke weg met Namola, die app wat blitsig op ontbied." Hey, Baba! Operation Tata Zonke. Guys, I'm taking all the tenders, I'm telling you. All right, so I just wanted to see if we do indeed have our speaker. Since we still need to wait a few more moments, I want you to enjoy some wonderful music. We've got a fantastic pianist on he's literally on another level, guys. And I mean literally. So please welcome him on stage next. Go for it. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Mbo and Tiro. Yeah. Very talented indeed. Well done, guys. So now to just continue the program, we're going to call on our chairman to please come on again. So the chairman of the society, Mr. Mpaka, please come around again, and he has a thing or two to say.
Thank you very much. Earlier, I indicated that the former DCJ is on his way. He is never late, he's delayed. Actually, he came all the way from KwaZulu-Natal. He had to fly over just to come here to our occasion. And I know that when we informed him about conceptualizing this TSA, he gave us his support. And we thank you so much. You are our inspiration, and we rely on your support. Your jurisprudence is always keeping us alive in the courts. Thank you so much. And I was told that I forgot a very, very important thing, to acknowledge our judges. I don't know how I expect to get court orders in my favor if I do that. Our esteemed judges, my apologies. My apologies, and we know that you came all the way. Our sister Manghe, who has been our member also. Thank you so much. And Judge van der Schijf, we still hold you to say you are available to come and give us further training. Thank you so much, John, and all those who are here. Judge Collis, thank you so much. And our judge who's busy with Senzo Meiwa. We wish you all the luck. Thank you so much. I'm just going to cause a disruption of some sort. I'm going to just a few words from our former DCJ to come and give us some few words of support. And after him, our Deputy Judge President Obrile Dwaba, who is also one of our esteemed judges, will come and say a few words. Just 2 minutes, and then I'll ask Mark Littering, 2 minutes, meneer, alsjeblieft. And then Mr. Mkari from Mpumalanga and Polokwane. We are 44 members here in chambers, 15 associates, and I think we are bigger than Mpumalanga and Polokwane combined. Former DCJ, a few words from you. Thank you so much.
Chairperson, congratulations once more. Your executive committee and all the wonderful advocates who make up the Tshwane Society of Advocates. I had insisted that I'm not going to be a village preacher today. I've been going around preaching and preaching, and there's no conversion that follows, so I've stopped preaching. Ngcukaitobi SC. And two, I said I want to leave it to the young people to do it. But I'm here to really pledge my support. I went through quite a turbulent flight in the storm from KZN, but I was going to be here, and here am I. First, my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues. I know just about all of you, though older than you in the profession, starting with you, DJP, and all of you are here. And I know many, many senior counsel who are here present. Whether you're talking Mokari SC or Leathern SC or any one of you, I've been here around many blocks. But the purpose is, I said, half a minute to say congratulations. And let me leave you with one thought. Barney Pityana, Professor, institutions are more dependable. They ensure continuity, because within them we plan succession. Knowingly or unknowingly, we tend to generate structures that then breed leaders who then, institutions are dependable, there are sides of accountability. And there are sides of training for future use of skills. And that is why the bar has been such a wonderful place for our country. It produced many, many of us who today are that judiciary that much vaunted about. And we've done not too badly. In the last 30 years as a judiciary, we've done our bit, and the bar has done quite wonderfully to shore up and argue cases and make us well. So I thought that's all I want to say, frankly. Institutions are important. They look after the young. They grow them within a fixed setting. They allow them to grow. They impart an ethical scheme and develop leadership within that scheme. So we must hold on to an institution like this. As we create it, let's give it longevity. I don't like the English much for all the reasons you know about colonialism. But damn, they hold on to institutions, don't they? They create things and they hold on to them for dear life, and somehow it gives them certainty, it gives them stability. If a premier messes up, she resigns within 3 weeks and she goes. It all comes out of these values that have been built in institutions over many years. We need all of that. So that's my way of saying congratulations to you all. I know you're going to make great guns, great lawyers and advocates, and great patriots. Our country needs patriots, people who care and love our country. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, DJP.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Retired Deputy Chief Justice Moseneke. I remember one day you bragging about the only Deputy Chief Justice who served under 3 Chief Justices. But you've been motivating us. I remember one time I went to court, I don't know whether I was admitted by then or not, and I saw a black face on the judge. I couldn't believe my eyes to say a black judge in the TPD can sit on that bench. And you were there and you left a mark. Thank you for that. I also want to congratulate Tshwane Society of Advocates for the great job that you are doing. Hence, you see us in numbers to give you support. I know you were bragging to Mukari SC that the number of members here are more than the societies that you're leading. Let me also brag, the number of judges in Gauteng are more than the judges in Mpumalanga, Deputy Judge President. But it's indeed an honor to be here, and the SCs who are here. You know, I remember when I applied for my admission, I had to brief an SC. So most of you would say, but why would you deem it fit to brief an SC? It was because the Law Society opposed my application on the basis that I did not have Afrikaans. I did not have a course in Afrikaans at university. I briefed Zayas SC, and the way he handled my matter is where I started to respect the SCs. And so the members of this society work together with your SCs. They'll guide you well, and we are also impressed about what SAR is doing and your motivation to all the younger generation. And we hope that when you appear before us, we'll rely on what you're saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DJP. Mark.
Thank you, Mos. It's wonderful to be here and to see people like retired Deputy Chief Justice Moseneke. I haven't seen him for many years, and he won't recall about 34, 35 years ago, there was a very young junior counsel who had hair. who was at a bar conference in Durban with his equally nervous wife. And we entered a dinner, and he came to us. He obviously saw that I was at complete loss as to what to do, took me to his table with my wife, and looked after us. And that's something that tells you something about the man. And everything that's happened since just confirms the type of man he is. Anyway, it's not about him. Tonight is about the Tshwane Society of Advocates. They are our colleagues. We are now, in a manner of speaking, in competition, but that's normal for our profession. We're always in competition with each other, but we remain colleagues. We don't take matters personally, and we stay friends, hopefully, as well. I congratulate this group, this society, on what they've done. They've come a very long way in 3 years. We are proud of them. We do have our differences, but we remain proud of them. We wish them all the best for the future. May they go from strength to strength, hopefully by not enticing our members. But we wish them all of the best. Congratulations, Moss. Congratulations to your board and to each and every one of your members.
Thanks, Mark. William Mukari, SC. And after William, the last speaker will then be the Solicitor General. He'll also give his message of support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moss. I really don't have much to say, except to say that congratulations to the society. You have taken the brave step. But let me start first by acknowledging those people who really have taken the time to be here. Deputy Chief Justice, the former, it's good to see you here. I've seen you in many places, we have met in many places, but it's good to see you here to come and support such a society that is starting from the bottom, and we hope you'll see it grow and grow and grow. The Deputy Judge President, Ledwaba, I'm also happy to see you here, and I'm happy to see you, Professor Pityana. I was representing your UNISA somewhere. We're together at court, and that those days. But it's also good to see you here. And to all the judges here and the senior counsel, the advocates, I'm really so thrilled to see that you're coming to support, I think Moss, you said 44 advocates. This, I think, is something to be cherished for people to come in such large numbers to celebrate what only 44 people have done. But remember that great things are started by the few. It is the few who start a project, and it is the masses who enjoy the benefits. So as you start here being 44, you will grow to become big, but not only in numbers. Be big in ideas, be big in brilliance, be big in hard work, and be big in vision. If you're never going to be big in those things, close shop. But I don't think that you must do so, because the fact that you started this project, it means that the vision is there. May it grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William Mukari. The Solicitor General has said that he'll be a bit longer because he was going to talk about how he's going to give us briefs immediately after this event. So he'll speak after the panel discussions. Over to you, MC.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause to our chairman. Thank you so much, Mr. Mpaka. So, ladies and gentlemen, I had a chat with our amazing performers a little earlier, and they say they've got one more number up their sleeves. So, as you can see, our main man right there looks a little like Kabza the Small. That's why he's on the pianos today. And we also have Tiro, who's on our saxophone. So, guys, give us one more number, then we'll get into the panel discussion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang and welcome to the official launch of the Tshwane Society of Advocates. Please welcome your moderator for this evening's panel discussion under the theme, A Reflection on the Past, Present and Future of the South African Legal Profession, Mr. Vuyo Mvoko.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Let me first thank the Society for making me part of this conversation. Not only is it a great pleasure, it is indeed a big honor. Well, where's the program director and Advocate Mpaha? The chairperson made my life so easy. Actually, it has never been this easy. I mean, they did the introductions, the chairperson did, and Weza prevented me, or maybe I should say saved me, from the hopeless attempts at stand-up comedy that I would have had to make if I was the program director. So let's get straight to it then, but even though the chairperson did, I think, a sterling job, but just so you know who's who, I will indeed tell you who are the people who are on either side of me. First up, we have the privilege of having two veterans who have traveled the road that led many of you to leave the Pretoria Bar and form the Tshwane Society for Advocates. And they do indeed have scars to show for it. Please welcome Kathleen Maloto-Dlepu, the first chairperson of the LPC, and former chairperson, as well as the former chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, Professor Barney Pityana. Well, I remember him being shocked when he was announced as the chairperson that I was at the Weekly Mail at the time, and he didn't expect a call from anyone at the Weekly Mail, given how the discourse was going at the time. As Advocate Tembeka Ngcukaitobi was saying when we were being mic'd earlier, as they say in Xhosa, inyati ibuzwa kwabaphambili. We're grateful both of you are here to share your experiences with us. Advocate Ngcukaitobi, of course, SC, is a member of the Johannesburg Bar. And if I happen to give him more time, please bear with me. I do understand. He came for me during one of the most difficult moments of my life, having to take on a big broadcasting corporation, which I shall not name, which at the time was led by one intellectual lecturer. That's what he called himself. So I have a soft spot for him. He did it pro bono, if I may say so. Andrew Masombuka is a member of the TSA. They call him a rebel without cause. That should give you an idea of who the man is, or what it's about. Devin Vakert is a candidate legal practitioner who, together with Dunga Mashilo, who is a law student, will give us perspectives of a new generation who just, their hopes, their aspirations, but also their fears about this profession. Last but not least, we have Disebo Ramonyalioa. My apologies. See? A human capital director who has fulfilled a transformation role in various corporates. You want to know about the state of transformation in the legal profession? It doesn't get better. Let's welcome all of them. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to give each and every one of them a couple of minutes to make opening remarks, whereafter we'll really have this conversation, all of us. Me?
Okay, thank you. I don't know. Thank you, Vuyo, and good evening, colleagues. I'm very excited to see one of my mentors, Justice Msaneke, and I think he's one of the people who made me to be what I am today. I shouldn't lie to you to say I wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up. Circumstances forced me. At the age of 6, I experienced the rough realities of the legal system then. Forced removal. My grandparents were forcefully removed from beautiful land in Limpopo, in Transport. I was 6 years old, and it was the first time I went on on a truck. And we were so excited, we thought we were going somewhere. And we were dumped in a place, a barren land. And the very first night, in small tents, the very first night, there was a storm. And my grandparents lost everything. I couldn't even find, we used to have tennis balls or everything. We had nothing. Then fast forward, I joined my parents in Soweto. I went to Maurice Isaacson. And as you know, Maurice Isaacson during those days, And I really wanted to be a doctor. Unfortunately, because my first arithmetic was being forced to do it in Afrikaans, I just couldn't even understand those figures. Our teachers were struggling even to teach us. From Maurice Isaacson, some of our teachers, I remember, that's when I really said to myself, we need to do something. I need to be part of a collective. Black consciousness for me was the way to go. And I remember one of our teachers was the late Abraham Tiro for a very short time. And that's how he taught us to value our blackness and to understand that we are black. And from there, I went to University of Teflop. Yeah, most of us come from there, and you had no choice. You had to do something. And I started enjoying law. I did law, I did my B-Proc, I did my LLB, and when you graduate, I remember, you remember the World newspaper. Uhlaleleni is now a lawyer, Those, the first headlines. I had a friend who was, yeah, I had a friend who was a reporter, and he made sure he puts me in the front page. I didn't know it was going to be tough. But I was fortunate in the sense that our black seniors wanted us to belong. And I got my article, I think after a week, from one of the founder members of the BLA, Sello Munyatsi. And that he taught me that for you to succeed, you have to belong. With him, you were either a member of Black Lawyers Association or the Democratic Lawyers then. He said, you will never be able to succeed if you are not part of a collective. And that's what made me. Having said that, I finished my articles. Then myself and one of my colleagues, who's now a judge, both of them I think they are judges, we decided, no, we are going to open a women-owned firm, train women simply. And that's what we did, and I'm still doing it now. But the challenges that we had, I remember we used to travel by train with our gowns so that people can understand that we are lawyers and give us briefs, And we were not shy to do that. But the sad reality is that because I didn't even I hated Africans with a passion then because we were forced. I couldn't do criminal law because in courts, Africans was the name of the game. I had to survive. Fortunately, there was independent mediation South Africa where we started mediation. And the BLA was legal education. They always pushed us to be the best of what we could be. And I've seen all the faces of our legal profession. But there's one thing that I told myself, I'm not going to give up. I made sure that I belong to all the structures of the profession. That's how I ended up being the first chairperson of the Legal Process Council. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. Am I audible? Good evening. No, I want to hear you, please. No. Yes. Good evening. My name is Barney Pityana. Not many people associate me with the legal profession, and I like it that way. I entered university at the age of 19 to read those days for a BA law, followed by an LLB. But actually, at the University of Fort Hare, I didn't finish the BA Law because in August of that year, we were expelled. And I was one of those who was expelled with a very firm instruction that I should never set my foot again at the university or any other university. And so that was a liberation in some ways, because I then spent the next 5 years driving black consciousness and student activism. And actually, that was the most exciting time in my life. I had nowhere to stay. I was staying wherever the night fell. I slept there. But the most thing about it is that I spent that 5 years living in Durban, sharing a home with Steve Biko. And that time, Durban really was a place where you began to get closer to young lawyers. There were a number of them those days. Louis Square, Justice Poswa, and all of those. Marumo. They were all friends and inspirations. There were not many places that had so many black lawyers, African lawyers, at that time. So I found myself actually drawing very closer to so much that, having spent a year as president of the South African Students' Organization, and then 3 years as the inaugural Secretary General of the South African Students' Organization, I was then set to join Justice, later Judge Poswa, to do articles with him. I found my way back into the legal profession. Then, of course, I was banned in March that year, so I spent 5 years under banning order, but I was also banished to my mother's house in PE. So I spent the year really not quite sure what I was doing. Then I thought, no, man, let me just finish my degree. So thanks to Mr. Martin Pelser, I think he was the Minister of Justice, who banned me, I found my way back into studying and then law, which I might never have done, I think. So I then studied, and then in 1974, wonderful firm of attorneys that was New Dikondile and Somyalo in New Brighton, both of whom in different ways became later judges and Judge President Somyalo. And I became, those days, an article clerk with them. And that I really was a fantastic time. And but then I was banned. So actually, during that 5 years, I must have spent probably 3 of those years in and out of jail. And so I was a part-time article clerk. Most of my time I was spending in jail, in detention, one place or another. But I did finish my law studies in 1976. And then partly, and this is to put a light on it, partly because really I didn't spend enough time doing articles. As a matter of fact, I didn't even need to. The Law Society of the Cape of Good Hope opposed my admission. And they said they opposed my admission because I had a criminal record for violating the banning orders. And nobody was prepared, no lawyer was prepared to take the case to challenge those days. So there am I, sitting there, and then next thing, I'm sent to jail. I stayed in jail for 12 months, 1977 and 78. So I was in detention without trial for 12 months. So there am I in jail in 12 months, and there were others who were there. So we began to think, what do we do with these law degrees? What does this thing all about? So I've always had a very ambiguous relationship with law, and never quite knew whether this is really what I want to do, because I hated the system. And my point was that those days, there was no way, because all I'm interested in is to change this thing and to throw it away. I don't want to be an officer of the court. I don't want to say, Your Honor, to Lords. And I don't want that. But I was a very angry young man. So I said, no, I don't want that, but it's okay, I want the law. So a group of us were then beginning to say, what do we do next? And that, I think, made a lot of sense to me. And then, of course, I then get, in August 1978, I get released from jail after 12 months. And then I thought, okay, let me get this admission and then do whatever I want to do. Of course, what happens? I get a new banning order, which then prevents me from practice, from being any place where the practice of law is taking place, from being any court of law except as an accused. So I had this banning order for another 5 years, and that prescribed that I was never to become an admitted lawyer. So I then said, well, if that's the case, I'm out of here. So I then left and went into exile. And I hadn't thought of going anywhere else except Lesotho, because I thought I was going to find a place where I could practice. But thankfully, I was offered an opportunity to go to England, so I then went to England, forgot about law altogether. And then when we came back in 1992, Mr. Kondile and Mr. Somyalo said to me that, listen, you really need to get that admission, because you should have had it 18 years ago. So they then prepared all of this, and then I was admitted. And Jeremy Gauntlet, who was a fellow student at the time I was, offered to move my motion of admission at the Cape High Court. The Cape of Good Hope Law Society, which had strenuously opposed my admission 18 years before, in 1994, they welcomed my admission. So 1994, they said they'll support my admission. I appeared before Deputy Judge President, I think he was, J.J. Fagan. And then I was moved, and no problem, I was admitted. But this is what I want to tell you about. The Deputy Judge President stood me up in the well of the court and said, Dr. Pityana, I have the honor today to be the one who admits you to a profession that you should have been part of 20 years ago. And I take no pleasure in doing that. But it falls on me to be the one who does it today. And I want you to know that by doing so, I do so, I am sure, with the apologies of so many people who've hurt you so much for so long. No, actually, I should have said to him, I never got hurt, actually. I moved on. I just moved on and got on to do other things and never looked back. So I'm trying to say that with my political activism and the law, I've always had a strange relationship with, of hate and love. But this is a thing that I want to leave as an experience of my legal profession. Of course, in my last year, before I was arrested, I was an article clerk with a right of appearance in court. So I was appearing in court, I was taking things and all. On the day after Steve Biko was murdered, we were in the same police station. On the day after he was murdered, suddenly in the cell, there was a young white police constable, and not the colored constable who were there before. And when he opened the door, this young constable, he said to me, "Here, meneer die prokureur, wat soek jy hierso?" En hy het vir my gesê, "Dis 'n baie gevaarlike terroriste hierso." So this young man was very, very embarrassed. I didn't know him, by the way, but he used to be an orderly in the court where I used to appear. And he was saying to me, you know, I really appreciated you in court. And I did not ever think I would find you here as a prisoner. Of course, that's all he could say. And the reason I'm telling that story is the ambiguities of the country we live in, which is very complex, and the ambiguities of the profession we are in, which was very hard and annoying and difficult and radical. And yet, because of that, it places you in a place of vantage to be the one who speaks on behalf of the one who cannot raise his or her voice. And that, for me, was always a factor in my legal consciousness and awareness of what one is looking for in the lawyering profession, which, as it happens, I never actually did go back formally to practice. But it's something that I owe a lot to the legal profession in everything else that I have done, because it was the legal profession that first opened my eyes to what being a conscious black person who seeks to change the world, and that with all the obstacles that were there, you always knew that ultimately we will change this system. And that was a driving motive of what we sought to do. And this is my last word from the black consciousness of that time. Now, one of the greatest essays of Steve Biko is an essay that says, "We blacks." We blacks. And it says something that I think we lose sight of so often. It says that actually, at the end of the day, it's the white people who it's the black people who will have self-knowledge. We must explore who we are, our identity is about. The second thing is that we explore what our purpose in life is. What do we exist for? As a black person in a state of oppression, you must exist for a purpose, which is other than yourself. And it is that purpose that you seek to explore in life, and that's what makes a difference to your self-consciousness and what your living is actually about. So I often say to young people today that even today we need to revert back to Steve Biko's We Blacks and start analyzing, critically understanding our context and our environment and seek a purpose in our lives so that our lives never becomes a life of mistake. It is not by accident that we are black. We are black because God desired us to be who we are. We owe nobody any apology for our blackness, none whatsoever. Thank you.
Ngcukaitobi, the floor is yours. You are talking about the present, your lived experiences.
No. I was just enjoying listening to Professor Pityana and my colleague at the JSC, Ms. Maloto-Dlepu. We call her Kathleen. I only learned about her African name today, so apologies. I heard you both spoke about how you entered, the profession. My entry wasn't as profound. It was, a typical boyhood dream, I had heard that before my father died, he had tried to become a lawyer and he never did because of premature end to his life. And so my point was just to try and do what he couldn't do. And
And so I got in. That was my inspiration then. I no longer know what my inspiration is now. But I'm still around. I think in relation to the theme of the evening, which is, challenges of transformation, the past and the future. I mean, it's fascinating just listening to the two of you. I mean, because I'm the guy who tries to find, stories of black lawyers from the past and then try and bring them to life. What's clear is that story is still being written. It's got many, many footnotes and it's got many, many endnotes, but it's an ongoing story. The other article I finished writing the other day is, I think now I've got the right person who is the first black African female attorney, and I think her name is Desiree Finga. Yeah, she gets admitted in 69 as an attorney, and is struck off the roll in 78. And she actually works in the same firm as Godfrey Pityana. And I started analyzing the reasons for the striking. It's a pitiful story and quite a tragic one. I heard that she's still alive, and she's probably in her 90s. And I tried to get in touch with the family. I just wanted to see the pictures and maybe interviews. Yes, I understand that she's in Johannesburg. Yeah. So anyway, I wrote for the BLA in Pulugwan, William. The attorneys, though, not the advocates. I wrote this article for them, and then they invited me, but I gave it as a paper. It's just examining the sexism, in that trial that led to her striking, and how the white lawyers were prepared to forgive Godfrey, but they were not prepared to forgive her, and that collaboration there. But it also showing another thing about, what we lawyers, black African men, who see ourselves as progressive, but what we don't see is our own sort of, I suppose, not so hidden sexism, and how we have marginalized women, and we've created heroes of ourselves. Anyway, so there's a tragedy in that story too. Where are we going? The biggest, maybe the two biggest things that have happened in South Africa in the last 30 years, the one has been the opening up of the economy, and the second has been the collapse of apartheid and its replacement with a democratic system. Now, both of these factors have enabled many of us. Without affirmative action, I probably would not have been sitting here today, although a lot of us now think, oh, no, I did it on merit. A lot of it is because of affirmative action. But it's enabled us to pursue individual dreams. Sometimes when I look back, it's very difficult to see what else I could have done with my life. So it's enabled us to pursue individual dreams, right? To become, people that are worth it. The thing that my father couldn't do, I can now do, largely because of the change in the legal system. And that change in the legal system has come because of political pressure. But it's also enabled us to live well, in the sense that we can buy a car. If you are hungry, you go to a shop and you buy things. And what that does is that it blinds you to the idea that someone else who's hungry cannot just go to the shop and buy food. Like now we are all eating very nicely here. So that always brings a conflict to what we do as black advocates. Because on the one hand, we have individual aspirations. We want the new Mercedes-Benz. Why should we not get it? And we think it is racist for white people to tell us that we have responsibilities that are bigger than ourselves, so we must go and plow back, etc. Because they don't have those obligations. Why should those obligations be imposed on us? And then on the other hand, we have a historical duty. That historical duty is towards liberation. Because liberation has not yet been attained. This story of freedom is not yet finished. It's not over. There's no uhuru yet. So we find ourselves then in these two conflicting worlds. The one being to pursue our own dreams, but the other to pursue the incomplete revolution, because we are still in a revolution, right? But even as we do that, there is a pushback at multiple levels, So the one pushback is the white right-wing pushback, right? White people resist change. There may be others who support change, but my own experience is that white people generally resist change. And what they do, they use institutional power to entrench themselves and to resist change. I've seen it in the land space where I've been a practicing lawyer and I've been a judge at the same time. There's massive resistance to the idea of change. They may have good reasons for resisting change, but the fact is that they formed a barrier that refuses change. Whether it is in our profession or whether it is in the economy generally, there is that resistance to change. But we also have another current that's blocking our ability to ultimately unleash the forces of freedom, which is we have an inherently corrupt state. And perhaps it was inevitable because we never actually saw political freedom as being underpinned by economic freedom. And so these are the two things we have to constantly struggle and fight about. So when I see Upumos, when I see Mos, this institution that you have created, it's great. I like it. I like the lights of Johannesburg. I like the many floors. I was looking up and I was like, this is a very impressive building, that you have inherited. But what is its soul? Right? What is its vision? So what is its leitmotif? What is it driving for? So it will use a nebulous term. It will say we are driving for transformation. But if you try and ask, what exactly is transformation? What you will find is that, I want to be in the next group. That's fine as well because you need to de-racialize the number of people appearing. But if you ask a different question, which is, do we see ourselves as agents of broader societal change? In other words, are we prepared to spend our energies, spend our talents to give access to other people that have no access to the legal profession, right? Or no access to the judicial system, etc. There you find us being very, very ambiguous about that commitment. So it seems that we have to perhaps go back in order to go forward. In other words, by asking precisely, although we use the term of transformation and locating that in the broader struggle, that actually the liberation of black people is not yet complete. And then identifying what are the causes for this incomplete revolution that we are identifying. And the last word I'm going to put on this is that the law and the legal system is part and parcel of the struggle for freedom. It's not counter the struggle for freedom. It's not outside of it, but it's a central element towards continuing the long journey. And we are not the first ones to start this journey for freedom using legal institutions. Seme started it, Mangena started it, Digang took up the cudgels, Professor Pityana took up the cudgels. So we're not the first to do it, but we find it constantly challenging to us to do it because we are pressured to look after ourselves primarily, which is not a bad thing. I see the Solicitor General sitting next to you. If you could give every black person a brief here, that would be great. And you know what? They announced now that the black advocates were doing work at the public protector and they splashed it. This is all nonsense. Really, really nonsense. And it is truly annoying to read this article about black advocates. Who knows? Over a period of 10 years, you've been paid 4.7 million rands. So what? Right? If you actually compare to what white advocates of a shorter period of time would have been paid, but we have no access to those facts, no details. So we would have another obligation, right, to speak out on things like this. Not because Muzi is my friend or any one of those people that have, but because there is a principle behind it. But again, speaking on those topics places another challenge because the society says to us, how can you encourage a perception that public funds have been misused? So again, you have to tread a very difficult path between speaking on principle and at the same time being empathetic to a society that's quite frankly tired of thievery and stealing from the years of state capture. So I've been here before in this room, this place where we are now, to launch a book. Thank you, you all bought it, etc. And I congratulated you then. But I think today I want to add to those congratulations a challenge of redefining what the struggle, and we should not fear talking about the struggle. The struggle is not over. So what the new phase of the struggle will look like.
Almost forgot I'm part of the panel. I'm just enjoying the discussion. I mean, I think today for me it's a bittersweet moment. Sweet in this sense. I get to sit here and listen to what our forebearers have went through and yet have been faithful in ensuring that they don't close the door after they've entered. Sweet in the sense that we sit here in a lavish building, and it's a building that houses a majority of black advocates, and they're proud about that, and there's no question about that, you know, because you look at the present, black advocates are subjected to your criminal matters, they're subjected to your RAF matters, which is even that RAF matters are now being taken away by our very own government, you know. And you sit here, you ask yourself, but why is it so difficult to be a black advocate in this country? So for me today, it's sweet in this sense again that I remember in 2019 when we were rejected by the Pretoria Bali, because we were rejected and eventually we were kicked out, disguised in a form of a constitutional amendment and a liquidation. We were going into liquidation because black advocates in particular who were subjected to buildings in town could no longer sustain them. Why? Because the whites decided to leave them and leave them with the dead there. That is the current situation in our legal fraternity. And there was a lot of nervousness and a lot of fear and uncertainty as to what is going to happen to the small margin of black advocates that are in Pretoria, the capital city of a country. And I remember standing up in one of the meetings and asking a question to say, we sit here wherein the population of the country is 80% black and the other 20% is shared amongst whites, Indians, and so forth. But you look at the room, it doesn't reflect the demographics of the country. And today I'm proud to be sitting here and saying I'm in a society that reflects the demographics of our country. So it is bittersweet in that instance. So our struggle today as black advocates are very compounded. And Ngcukaitobi has put it quite well to say that one, you find yourself with this issue of saying you need to cover your bills, you know? I mean, this lavish building doesn't come cheap ultimately, you know? But at the same time, you have a duty towards society, you know? Because we must be honest. When black people out there require help, they go to someone they can relate to, and that is us. So we need to avail ourselves to them as well. So it poses that challenge as well to say, how then do I avail myself to my brother who needs legal help, but at the same time, I have a duty to say, at the end of the month, I need to ensure that my rent is paid, my child is eaten. So those are the current challenges that we are facing in today's society as lawyers. But I want to end by saying this, that we have a black government in charge. And I'm glad the Solicitor General is here. And my good friend, the minister, I think he ran away when he heard I'll be here. Because some of the side discussions that we have with him are quite confronting. You look at the stats of the state attorneys. They put their stats on the website on a daily basis. And you think, wow, we're transforming. But if you go deeper and question those stats, you'd find that black advocates in particular are subjected to your unlawful arrest matters. So meaning that black advocates in particular would not even see the steps of the Supreme Court of Appeal, would not even see the steps of the Constitutional Court. But yet we are told the state attorney is doing well to transform us. When you see big matters wherein legal issues, there's novel legal issues, you don't see black advocates. I mean, had it not been for Ngcukaitobi here, some of us would have even given up on thinking that one day we'll also represent big clients, and and also maybe be on TV, you know? That's the reality of the matter. Because we do not get those opportunities, SG. We don't. We simply don't. Like I said, we are subjected to criminal matters and RAF, and that even that RAF has now been taken away. We don't know why. But now you ask RAF, and it's a field which has trained many lawyers. I sit here and I can say I'm not so good, but I'm getting there. And it's because of the training I got from RAF matters. But that has also been taken away. But we are saying, Solicitor General, it can be correct that in a democratic country, in a country which is run by blacks, blacks are still marginalized within the legal profession. I also want to practice in maritime law. I also want those briefs, those big tax matters. I also want those big competition matters. You know, the sad thing about it is this, is that for you to get a brief in a tax matter, they'll ask you whether do you have a master's in it. You go and you get a master's, they'll say you don't have experience. Where are you going to get that experience? So those are the realities that as black lawyers today, we are subjected to. And yet we are supposed to say, hey, we have a black government in hand. We have state-owned entities that are, the major shareholder is a black government. But you look at who those state entities are briefing. They don't look like the demographics of the country. But yay, let me not go on my rant. You see now why they call me a rebel rouser. But I want to end it here. You know, I was very touched when Dlepu spoke of her experiences and the fact that they were subjected to Afrikaans. I think it was unfortunate, and this is a personal experience, wherein I was in court, my opponent gives me a document, is in Afrikaans. I'm supposed to confirm the legitimacy of that document to the judge, who is a black judge, by the way. And I say, but I can't, because it's in Afrikaans. And I was scolded at and ridiculed for not knowing Afrikaans in a democratic country. So that is the dispensation that we are currently in as the present lawyers. So as my forebearer Ngcukaitobi has said it, it's not yet Uhuru. But TSA is that hope that black child, it's possible. Black child, you can do it. We are going to fight and we are going to prove that we are good at what we are doing and we are going to apply ourselves, and hopefully there will be more Dlepus, more Msenekes and Ngcukaitobis and the rest replicated in us. So that is the sweet moment that I have, that the black child out there has hope that things will get better.
I want to start by saying that it's such an honor to be in this room with people that, as a black female law student, I often look up to, I often read about, I often reference in assignments. And the unique perspective, I like that you acknowledge that that was directed at you. But the unique perspective that I bring as a law student is that I'm an outsider. So I can give perspective on what we are expecting as law students, but moreover, what we see when we look into the legal fraternity as it stands right now. And in the spirit of this conversation about transformation, I'll start by speaking about the reason that I entered the law or the legal space in the first place. I started a biomedical science degree, but had an overwhelmingly overpowering passion for social justice and trying to be some kind of driver and agent of change in the society around me. And law was the space at the time that I saw best to fulfill that role. And so I switched to law at the University of Pretoria. And so as a country, as has been said before, we have such a huge responsibility to continue the journey of transformation and to continue the journey of actualizing the South Africa that we'd like to see ourselves existing in one day. And in my eyes, the legal fraternity is one of the key drivers of that vision through transformation. And so it becomes a bit of an awkward situation when what we're learning and what we're engaging with, the content that we're engaging with in the academic space about transformation and this vision doesn't match the way that the legal fraternity looks from the outside. It becomes gravely concerning where you are assessed on the importance of equity and equality and the role that women play in society, the pivotal role, the vital role that women play in society, black women as the backbone of the economy play in society, but that's just not something that's reflected in the legal fraternity that I'm about to enter and expected to flourish in. It becomes gravely concerning when I'm told that unless I'm extremely exceptional and extraordinary as a black female lawyer, I'm not likely to make it in the law fraternity, at least at the level of success that I aspire to be. And so I think that's the heart of this conversation. It would be a disgrace to not recognize the countless efforts that have been put in to break down some of the more I think some of the institutional barriers or some of the more tangible barriers that prevent people from entering the fraternity or being successful in the fraternity. But I think that we need to have a serious conversation about some of the more subtle barriers to access that exist, especially for marginalized communities that exist in a fraternity that's supposed to be the driver of transformation. We can't aspire to be the agents of something in a country when we aren't able to do that within our own space. And in my role for speaking about expectations for the legal fraternity, I think that would be the core of it, that we advocate for and embody and live what we actually speak in our courts and what we write about in our judgments and what we try to be about as a law fraternity. Thank you.
Am I audible? Yes. Thank you. I've been having issues with this mic all day. I just wanted to make sure. As you can tell, I don't look like my fellow panelists. All right, it's going to fall right back off anyways. Thank you. I'm a candidate legal practitioner at Dale Mohasha, right across the road. So I'm also representing the future. I've only been in practice for 11 months now, and I'm at least proud to say that I am part of the most socially aware generation of lawyers yet. As the former Deputy Chief Justice said, institutions and the power they hold in bestowing values and change are vital. And I had the fortune of going to the University of Pretoria. And in a time where we're not taught to uphold old traditions and blatantly discriminatory ideals, we are taught about the past, not told to ignore it or forget about it, to acknowledge it and to question why things are the way that they are now, and to aim towards changing that. And I'm very fortunate for where I am. Is this going to help? All right. And my parents have played a big role in putting me in situations where you see that a lot of the reason there's ignorance and a lack of understanding in this country, even though we are supposed to have transformed or be transforming, there's still a clear lack of understanding. And I was thrust into and exposed to people that don't look like me from day one. And that is the way I became aware and just more understanding of who they are as people. And that is one of the things that you need to be cognizant of, is if you are in this bubble, which we tend to be, and even in the legal profession, we're such a proud profession with prestige and all these traditions and values that date back to I don't know how long. And you hold on to that pride, then you don't want to let go of those traditions, especially the stalwarts of the fraternity. But things need to change, and they haven't changed to the extent that they need to. Okay.
These are not our microphone in here. Put it on. It's on.
Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. I would love to know if you people have been able to hear me from the start, or if I've just been talking to myself.
No, we've been here.
But what I want to say is that as candidates, we are still extremely vulnerable. And, you know, as who I am, a white man with clearly a privileged position in society, I have to navigate my way around being a candidate legal practitioner, but it's even harder then for those that don't look like me. And we, as candidates, it's normal to be exploited almost. You hear these horror stories about, you know, you go on LinkedIn and someone's like, my principal is sending me to go do his washing. And you're like, surely this is a joke. And then I hear from my friend that they were doing that the other day. So it's about introspection and really protecting the future generation as well. We, like I said, are a lot more aware of where we want to go and what we want to do with this country, and that's about being inclusive and knowing that we are different. We are different. It's not about being a monolith of sorts. It's about acknowledging those differences, but having certain things that are non-negotiable. Ubuntu, respect, dignity. Those are things that should not depend on how you look, your sexuality, your whatever it may be. So that's what I have to say. And for the future also, council, please get with the times now, fourth industrial revolution. Please stop asking us for hard copy briefs. Like,
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be here. I remember when we were having this conversation with Kagiso, when she invited me, I said to her, what do you want to achieve out of this? Because I don't want to be part of the talk shop and talk about transformation, because frankly, I'm tired. And who's going to be in the room? So I'm quite hopeful that this will turn into something else. And as you heard, that my profession is in human capital, and transformation happened to me back then. My very first job at the factory in Durban, the conversations that we were having with the unions were about transformation, were about, look at the factory, why aren't we bringing women operators? We had to go and source them. And they were like, look at the team leaders, and up there, it's not people like us. So that was my baptism of fire as a graduate trainee. And over the years, I've just attracted this narrative. Even up to, I think it's Tembeka that mentioned about affirmative action. My very first board appointment in 2008 was from a multinational that decided that they want a South African black female to sit on their board. And it was not a talk shop because I never keep quiet and I don't like being made favors. And I can safely say I earned that role. I earned my seat around that table, and I never kept anything to myself. I was respected, and here we are today. And you spoke about not closing the door. I have made sure that with the youth, I hold that step ladder to make sure that those that come before us don't have the same frustrations, because I have been here, I have been there in the boardroom, young, black, female, everything, you name it. And all the subtle discrimination, the subtle talks about, as a female, what do you know? You want to start a meeting at 8 o'clock. I'm a mother, I need to drop my child off school. I speak. I can't start a meeting at 8 o'clock, we need to start at 9. I can finish late, I don't mind. And the name of my business is Internal Locus of Control. And that speaks for itself, because I think as a nation, as a people, we blacks, there is so much that we can do within our spaces to force the change. Transformation, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can tell my age.
We know the move.
Yes. The good, because it's the legislation that we have with very good intentions. Businesses that have over the years intentionally made sure that at least they move the needle and they implement the transformation. The bad, from the bad intentions and malicious compliance from those that are in power, that are in positions of leadership, that just refuse to see the change. And the ugly is the subtle and structural exclusions that we still see today, that never surface, but you can feel it if you are in the room, if you are in the space. Which brings me to the issue of diversity and inclusion. The definition being diversity is being invited to a party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And as you know, when you're on the dance floor, you need to dance to your own beat. You need to somehow relate to the music that is playing. That is inclusion for you. When I look at our society today, and having listened to what my legal eagles have been saying, like over the past few days leading up to here, is I look at the society, I look at all the different industries. It's still a cappuccino. It's white at the top, and as you go down, it's black. White males, over 60% are still at the top in corporate. Gender is still not balanced. So we still have a cappuccino, and it's up to all of us to make sure that we make the change in every little thing that we do. I mean, I was inspired by the youngster, the AMA 2000 that was doing the welcome, yeah, the poem. No, it was the one, the ballet dancer. To say, most of the work that I do with the youth is around what is it that you need to do to make sure that you overcome the adversities? Instead of looking at government, looking at the system, what is it that we can do to change that? And some of the things that I used to inspire them is the books that I read, which is about overcoming adversity. And The Hope in a Ballet Shoe is one of the books that I refer to in terms of it's never impossible. It can never be impossible. So I invite all of us sitting here as leaders in our own right to make sure that hand on heart, we embrace diversity and we make it work for us at every touch point. Thank you.
Of course, we're here for a conversation. Special thanks to our panelists. While we're getting the mics ready on either side of the room for that engagement, Q&A session, I'm going to kick off by asking one or two questions, and then I'm going to invite everyone to make use of the mics that are going to be brought to really engage with our panel, but also with one another. If I may kick off, Mdlepu, and I will also invite the Solicitor General to come in on this one. When you were boarding those trains, carrying your gown, in your hand, hoping that you'll get a brief, from the passengers. It takes us to an issue that the society is currently grappling with, and that is the briefs that they are not getting from the state. I'm keen to know what your thoughts are, and please, Solicitor General, feel free to come on this one.
Being an attorney for so many years, and with my resilience, we have tried, we fought the battles in the law societies, Still, things are still the same. And the thing that the Legal Practice Act brought was give us a tool to change, to transform the profession. But unfortunately, the profession itself is its own enemy. There are those who want the status quo, and those who feel the profession is moving very slowly. And I always have this fight with the advocates. I'm an attorney, by the way. I don't hate them. They are my friends. But they tend to work in silos. That's why I'm saying as a collective, we can achieve so much. If you engage with your attorneys and say, I'm looking at the preferential procurement discussion that is happening. None of the advocates are raising their hands to say, let's challenge this. I'm there to say, I'll be the briefing attorney. The instructing attorney. But none of the advocates, like my friend here, is coming and saying, please, let's challenge this. Until we do that, we need to challenge the state. We need to actually sue our own state to make sure that things happen. We have the equality courts, and how many of us go there? Because we are afraid, or because we are very comfortable in our own shoes. So until we do that, that's why I'm saying that you need to belong. You need to understand where you are coming from. Because there are those who are very privileged and who don't understand where we are coming from. So they feel very comfortable where they are. So I'm challenging advocates in here. We've got a challenge. The preferential procurement regulations are going to destroy everything that we have. And the legal sector code, I must say, we are trying to make sure that we have a monitoring tool to monitor the Solicitor General and the friends, and the private sector. But as long as we are not coherent as a collective, we will not. And unfortunately, some of the things that frustrate that legal sector code is our own Department of Trade and Industry. I don't understand why it's sitting there. And I challenged advocates to say, let's challenge the Minister of Trade and Industry and to release that legal sector code. I think we're going to take it.
Let's hear from the Solicitor General.
No, thank you very much. I think I will react more to what my colleague Mdlepu has said in relation to briefing and the challenges that she has had over the years. And Chairperson, I think the topic says yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I thought that was a slogan of some bank. But in relation to transformation, I think I'm still asking myself, Deputy Chief Justice, as to where this name of Solicitor General comes from. more so in the context of South Africa. My mom asked me, what does it mean? I said, I don't know. I was privileged to be in a plane with one of the judges at the Supreme Court of Appeal. And we were sitting next to each other, and she said, I really want to understand what you do. And 16 hours, I had to explain. It was more like I was under cross-examination. I think those that know would understand that I'm a legal practitioner myself. So, Masombuka, I'm not a public servant in the strict sense of the word. I'm still required as a Solicitor General to be an admitted attorney. I'm still, in fact, a member of the Legal Practice Council. It is a requirement of the position that you should be so. And the reason why I probably raised my hand when I was requested was essentially because of the same problems that everybody has in relation to briefing. Having been one of the people that used to carry placards to the various government departments looking for work, which we never got. Having had to be told that you needed to have a master's, you know, to fulfill certain duties of an attorney. And once you attain the master's, they move on. They say they want a PhD. I think you forgot about it. And then you need to, in fact, start sorting. But where we are today is we've moved with speed, notwithstanding the ravages that COVID brought upon us. We moved with speed in piloting some of the critical policies that are required to, in fact, level the playing field. But policies alone can never be a panacea to all the problems that we have. South Africa is known to have drafted some of the best policies ever, but implementation becomes a problem. So there is a policy that is called briefing and outsourcing of state legal work. It's a very critical policy that each and every practitioner should pay particular attention to. Cabinet is sitting next week, Wednesday, to approve that policy. But also, we delayed the passing of that policy because we were awaiting on the legal practice code, or on the legal sector code that Maloto-Dlepu has spoken about. There is so much resistance to the legal sector code by practitioners themselves. And the question is this now a question of self-hate or alternatively doorkeeping? And all of those aspects are playing a pivotal role in that space. So briefing and outsourcing of state legal work should not ordinarily be a problem. In a 3-year, multi-year period, the state spent 7.8 billion rand in briefing. 7.8 billion rand. And when we calculated, 5.8 billion rand went to previously disadvantaged individuals. And I think that is the story that the minister keeps on telling you. But we were merely ticking the boxes. Because if you go everywhere else, Judicial Services Commission and everywhere where you would ever want to listen to black practitioners, they will say, we are not being briefed. But 5.8 billion rand has gone. Now, we then examined the fault lines, the blind spots, and we realized that the same notions of overbriefing, self-hate, and doorkeeping are what are the elements that are keeping us behind. And until such time that the legal sector code is in fact released by the powers that be, we are not going anywhere. Because in essence, there are those that would want us not to progress at all and to remain where we were. Now, there is something that might develop, whether Maloto-Dlepu wants or not. I think this challenge is not to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, if you may. This is the challenge of legal practitioners themselves. So what we are going to do, we are going to frog march all of you to be friends of the court, whether you like it or not. Maloto-Dlepu can start that process, and we'll just join you as interested parties so that we can, in fact, get the legal sector code to be released because its efficacy is both to the state and both to the private entities. We're not resisting. In fact, I've actually given the offices of state attorney, 13 of them, as guinea pigs to be used for the purposes of implementing the legal sector code. I think that is where I'm going to end for now. So, thanks.
It's interesting, Prof, that the Solicitor General, who once carried placards going around asking for work from the state, talks about self-hate, talks about gatekeeping. You spoke earlier about the ambiguities of the country we live in. And I take no pleasure, like the judge you mentioned, in reminding you of how you are appointed to the Human Rights Commission. And I'm raising this because this was after the 1994 democratic elections. And those who opposed your appointment, some of them were people you were with in the trenches. Some of them were people with struggle credentials. But oh, did they not oppose your appointment? And when I listened to what the Solicitor General just said, and going back to that time, you feel, or how things change. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Thank you very much. That's a very short reflection on that. I'm never surprised when people are opposed to what I say, because I do like to say what I like. And often what I like to say is not what other people might like. It doesn't matter. And so I live with that. And I've always sought opportunities to be an independent observer and commentator in situations. I've avoided getting into situations where I'll lose my intellectual independence for anything. I've avoided that successfully, I think. So I live with that fact, and I know. But at the end of the day, it's about what you do with what you have. Once you take a responsibility, you put a stamp of what actually it means to be a black person who's aspirational, who seeks to see things happen in a particular way, and what resources and what opportunities we have, we use those, not so much because you want to please whoever is in power or government, whatever it is. And it's never been my inclination to please anybody.
Can we get questions, comments? The floor is everyone's.
Hello, thank you. I am Tshwane Mulotsi. I'm one of the seniors in the society. I want to direct a question to the first chairperson of the LPC. Because I've heard what a lot of people talk about, but we're not really talking about the new dispensation of the LPC being a regulatory body. And in my time there, I got a sense that while the LPC has been given all these powers by the legislation, there is being some sort of reluctance to exercise the powers to the extent that we can see the real transformation happening. And to borrow what you have said earlier, Chair, is that you still have difficulties now. When you look back at the LPC for the last 4 years, where do you think it has, what has it done in terms of transformation? I know you'll probably talk about the legal sector code, but it's not yet uhuru, to borrow Tembeka's words. But what role has the LPC done in terms of ensuring that there is transformation? Because the amount of resistance that is there, it is mind-boggling. And one also gets the sense that the bars, particularly the white bars, particularly the big ones, there is a bit of reluctance amongst the LPC itself to really assert its authority and tell the bars where to get off in terms of issues relating to transformation. That's one question to you. And the other one is to the Solicitor General. Unfortunately, the stats that you have mentioned, the amounts that you have mentioned, they are not too convincing to me. Because in recent months or in the last couple of years, you have introduced what I could term as an event that has taken a lot of black practitioners out of work of the state attorney, which is your tendering system. And it's quite surprising that you are not talking about it, SG, because that process has really enabled a lot of black practitioners not to access work from the state attorney, and invariably it has also led them to be outside of the profession because they could not be provided with briefs from the state attorney's office. Thank you.
And it's just unfortunate you're one of the people who ducked. You know, we're supposed to be at the LPC now, assisting us to transform the profession, and you decided to give up. And you know, the LPC is a large body. It's made up of advocates. It's made up of attorneys, law professors, legal aid representatives, and you know, we are about 23, you know that. And you have to try and convince all the 23 councillors for us to pass a policy. You know how we struggled to even get this legal sector code on track. People who claimed to be liberals opposed it. We won it by a margin. We had to vote by a margin. So it's sad to, and for me, I thought advocates were actually they're actually the problematic people there, you know. In the sense, I don't think they understood that these artificial differences between attorneys and advocates is actually killing us. We need to understand that we are in the same field, and the other needs the other. You cannot want to keep the status quo, because, I mean, advocates, as I say, they always work in silos, you know. All what you know is going to court and coming back. We are the cold front. We are in the cold front of the public. So for us to get together and make sure that everything moves in unison, it's still a long way, you know. And that's why I call it's an artificial barrier, and it's actually killing us. But, Khalele, what I can promise you, I'm going to take the challenge. I'm going to actually sue government with my help here, with the help of my fellow commissioner, and make sure that the legal sector code sees the daylight of it, you know, so that the policy that the Solicitor General talks about will actually kick in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Advocate Muloti. I think you had the benefit that I've engaged you more than any other society, because I've given almost 3 hours before on a virtual platform. I'm telling now. And we dealt with similar issues. But since you have now asked the question publicly, let me also answer it publicly. To start with, I think legal service provision should not be deemed as selling tomatoes and onions in the street. This is a professionalized space. The second issue is, if you look very closely at Section 34 of the Legal Practice Act, it prohibits legal practitioners from tendering. It does. In fact, if you tender, the Legal Practice Council can take action against you. And the reason why we allowed this latitude for now was I pleaded with the Legal Practice Council to allow us to get our house in order and not take action against legal practitioners. But ordinarily, it is in fact impermissible for a legal practitioner to tender. But even accepting that you were allowed to tender, what I've observed in this space is sometimes we just tick the boxes. We are told by Treasury that we need so many quotes. And so in order to, I would know that I want to brief Advocate Masombuka from the onset. But in order to tick all the boxes, I will still approach you, somebody else, Advocate Mkari sitting next to you there, he will probably tell you to hell with your brief. That's what he says. And that is tendering to you because it is not in fact saving the interests of the legal practitioners. And I think we need to have further debates. And if you go down to section 192, I think, and 193 as well of the Legal Practice Act, it also prohibits you from getting work directly from government departments. And to do so will in fact land you in jail for a period of 2 years. Not less than 2 years, as a legal practitioner. Now, we needed to, in fact, have a balance of what should be happening. And that is why in this audience, there is the state attorney from south of the Jaskei and the other state attorney from here, north of the Jaskei, because we also know, I don't know how Tembeka you managed to get here, because these people don't see eye to eye. They don't talk to each other. They might have divorced themselves from the Professor Society of Advocates. Yeah, you see, it's a problem. But legal practitioners themselves are not talking to each other. You might have actually been able to get Advocate Mkari here. We are not discussing enough the problems that are besieging legal practitioners, more particularly in relation to briefing and outsourcing. However, as at the moment, we are operating on standard operating procedures. We don't have a policy. I've said that Cabinet is actually convening, it's a full Cabinet meeting, to deal with briefing and outsourcing of state legal work. We are also having the framework agreement that Treasury is going to publish, because I don't want to be coming to you every second day to say, I need you to give me papers to show that you are tax compliant, you are on the CSD. All of those things are owned by government. It should be us that says we need to brief Advocate Mlots, and we can check on the processes that we have, instead of having to ask you to cut as many trees as possible to give us documents on a brief-by-brief basis. That is not working. It has not worked in the past 64 years when the state attorney, or at least 67 by now, when the state attorney was in operation. And we are trying to change all of that for the benefit of all legal practitioners. Thank you.
My bosses tell me we're taking the last 2 questions. There's a hand there, and there's another hand here. And those will be...
Thank you very much. I have a question, an interwoven question, because I carefully listened to all the speakers eloquently stating what had to be shared today. My starting point would be, if Einstein many, many moons ago stated that creation of the universe was never based on simplicity, then we ought to have known at that point in time that the past is not gone, the present is not gone, and the future is where we are going. In light of the topic, the question would be, if transformation is based on perspective of what should happen instead of what is happening, how then are we individualistically contributing together to achieve a common goal? Thank you.
I defer to my senior. I
the hot
think
potato that seems to be.
Keep them to myself. Look, I mean, there are 2 problems that you face as a lawyer, you know. The one is the individual problem. You know, how do you put yourself in a position where you are most attractive to attorneys? Now, you think that it's obviously by working hard, quote unquote, by getting yourself skilled up, etc., etc. So that's the endogenous, that's the internal problem. And then you've got the external, the exogenous, things you have no control over. The two must be in harmony, for an ideal, setup. So it's the external features that often we complain about when we speak about transformation. So I'm black, there's nothing I can do about being black, and maybe my accent is not that great, and there's nothing I can do about that either. And maybe I'm a female, and there's nothing I can do about, being a female. So it's the disruption of the structure that we need. So if you allow the structure to continue unchanged, you are not going to get the individual, to change. So my sense about most of the transformation discussion is that unless we dismantle the structures that perpetuate the patterns of marginalization and exclusion, we're going nowhere with transformation. So that takes us back to how do we actually confront the structures. One is we obviously need organizations. We've got to join advocates for transformation, whether one likes it or not. The fact of the matter is that unless you are organized under a banner of an organization that is advocating for common interests, you are not individually going to dismantle these structures that perpetuate racial and sexist practices. We must join the Black Lawyers Association. We must join NADER. So there are no alternative answers to this. These are the same old problems that confronted Nelson Mandela in 1954. They still confront us today. But somehow we think we are special. We don't see ourselves as part and parcel of this old pattern of struggle, resistance, struggle, overcoming, resistance, the old dynamic. So if you are interested in transformation, we've got to regard it as part and parcel of the struggle. It's just that we must define new terms, etc., but the old trajectory of the struggle persists. So that's why I keep insisting that unless we organize institutionally, Nehau had an old slogan in the 1990s, organize or starve. It's a very powerful statement that you've got to organize and get yourselves in a position where you can push collectively. Because if you don't do that, white people didn't come from Mars and then accumulate all of the wealth that they have now. History shows that there were 13 of them, or 14, they arrived in the dromedaries in a ship in 1652 on the 6th of April. After 300 years, they control everything. You think they acted individually, they acted cohesively, right? And you are not going to break those patterns that they have established for 380 years by just saying, I'm special, I can do it myself. So Johannesburg Bar right now, I'll give you an example of the Johannesburg Bar right now. The Johannesburg Bar right now, for the first time in its entire history, has majority black advocates. For the first time. Right? And now that didn't come about, just because we dreamt, we were smiling, we were having big, nice launches. It came about because of struggle, constant struggle. One has been access. That's one part of transformation, is getting black people access into the profession. The second is controlling exit. In 2010, there was a study prepared by this organization, CALS, which showed that if you are a black female, you are likely to stay in the profession of advocates for only 3 years. It's a revolving door. You get in, out, get in, out, get in, out. So you then realize that it's not helping for us to increase access. We have to create an institutional and a system that enables black advocates not only to get in, but also to succeed. The intake in the last 5 years of new pupils has consistently 50%, 60%, 70%. Now I think it's like 95% been black, right? Now that is what you do. You deliberately engineer transformation. It's not going to happen otherwise. Now, of course, white people are complaining, right? Because they say, oh, well, we've got all of these beautiful marks and whatever, and you're marginalizing and excluding us, etc. The reality is that they must accept it, right? They must accept that there is a period in which transformation enables other people to get in, and if you have only 80 vacancies, there are white people that won't come in. And then maybe they must try the Pretoria Society. Maybe they must try next year, right? No, I have to say, this is the truth about transformation. Maybe they must come next year. Maybe they must go elsewhere. But you are not going to achieve this if you say, I want to transform, but at the same time, I want to accommodate everybody. Because transformation is about give and take. It's about sacrifices, hard sacrifices that have to be made. There is a time at which we are going to reach an equilibrium. We can have that conversation at that point. But that is not where we are right now. So, to come back to the example of the Joburg bar, although black advocates are now the majority, there is still the problem of what work are they getting, right? What is the quality of that work, and does it enable them to stay? We have to still manage the exit, close the revolving door. How long is this going to take? Who knows? How long is a piece of string? Who knows? What we know is that right now, it is the right thing to be done. So I come back to this point that no one knows what the future is like. But people should stop putting us under pressure to end affirmative action.
I think I'm going to be a bit of a rebel rouser myself. The TSA is a product of the victimization of the Pretoria Society of Advocates, in a way. Now, to this panel, what I want to ask is how do we try and fix institutions like the PSA, who by their very nature tend to discriminate against black people, unashamedly so, and throw us out. Now, how long do you think we as black people should subject ourselves to this organization? Isn't it always better that we form our own organizations that will push the agenda of transformation?
No.
I hold a different view.
These are our institutions. Where are we going? These institutions were built by us, they were built by our parents, they were built about our resources. We should stay. So, anyway, sorry.
I hold a different view, and for this reason. And I think, Medlep, you will assist us there. And it goes back to the question that Mlozi has asked as well. We have the Legal Practice Council as the regulatory body for the legal profession. But yet we have superpowers called the GCB. When we talk of advocates in the country, they refer to the GCB. Right now, where you sit in the JSC, the representatives of the advocates profession come from the GCB.
I don't represent advocates.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you represent the president there, but they come from the GCB. And the truth of the matter is that the GCB in itself, the Johannesburg Bar, you've given an example of the Johannesburg Bar, it's a good shining example. However, the powers that be within the GCB are still opposed to transformation. And that's something that they cannot say. And I ask myself now, if we had stayed in the Pretoria Bar, would a black child believe that it's possible there is black excellence out there, black people can start their own thing, and it can be beautiful, professional, and sustainable? No. So sometimes there is a need to leave and establish black authentic organizations that are going to go toe-to-toe with the establishment on excellent professionalism and executing clients' mandate to the best of our abilities. And this is but a start of the revolution to say we don't need the old establishment. It has not served us. Instead, it has abused us and used us as quotas, as numbers to say, hey, we're trying our best. But on the back door, when you open the door, in actual fact, they are oppressing you. So to answer your question, we need to establish such organizations as TSA to give hope to the coming generation that blacks is possible, and also to show the establishment that you thought you were in charge, but the tide has changed. We have the LPC now. We can't do it on our own. And we are asking the LPC, stop this recognition of the GCP as the only voice for advocates in the country. Let it end. There are many voices. There's Pabasa now, there's TSA, and many other bodies that are saying, we are black and we are proud and we can do it.
This question is directed to the LPC Medlepu. We all agree that what happened in the Section 194 inquiry by Advocate Bauer was atrocious. That young man there works for our firm. Our firm was in that spreadsheet. What is the LPC going to do? Are you guys going to issue a statement about the conduct of Advocate Bauer? What she did, Advocate Sikakani said a mouthful, but what is the governing body going to do and say about her conduct? Thank you very much. He has to explain to his parents why he works for a firm that loots public funds. So we need a statement from the LPC to clarify what Advocate Bauer said about us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not here to defend the LPC. But what I suggest that you lodge a complaint. Remember, the LPC, there's this national body, they are provincials, and DCs happen at the provincial level. If I was Tshwane Society of Advocates, I'll lodge a complaint. And from there, the LPC will take it on. But it's out in the open. I'll urge the Provincial Council to look at it. Thanks.
Well, that's how we come to the end of this conversation. Weza, please take over.
I was in trouble. I can't see now.
What a fantastic panel. Can we please give our panelists a big round of applause one more time, as well as our facilitator. Awesome work indeed. So the interesting thing is, as we, of course, mentioned earlier, that we also have a lot of people who've joined us virtually and who are also part of the conversation. And I'd just like to acknowledge them as well and get to read some of their comments. So here we go. So one, for instance, here saying, putting the needs of others in the same margin as our own. Not many of us can do that, and for that, that because these days a lot of us are self-driven. Someone else saying, Dunga Mashilo, big round of applause, yeah. And then I see another person right here saying, I had an opportunity to attend and I rejected it. Now I'm regretting. Eish. Yeah, so it's good, it's good. So thank you so much to everyone who's also engaging right there on the YouTube page and following along and watching along as well. We appreciate that you too are actually virtually also a part of the conversation today. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are very close to the final part of the program, but we still got one more thing up our sleeves. In fact, we've got an artist who's actually going to be gifting a painting to the society, and I'd actually like to welcome him on stage. His name is Azael Langa. Please make a big round of applause for him. So as he's coming, so too is the actual painting. So this is a large painting. In fact, as the gentleman is approaching, I'd actually like to take this opportunity to just tell you a word or two about who he is and what he has actually achieved. So Azar Langa is a fine artist and sculptor who was born in Johannesburg in 1988. He currently resides right here in Johannesburg, South Africa, and he, in fact, is a practitioner of the artistic technique of fumage. I hope I got that right. This is something that is quite interesting. He uses different types of smoke on canvas or paper to give different kinds of scenarios to, of course, depict the place or the community in which he comes from. He has done amazing work indeed, and his work has been exhibited internationally at art fairs and exhibitions worldwide, including the Netherlands, Switzerland, South Africa, and the United States. Please, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Langa. So let's have a real quick chat right here. First of all, please tell me a little bit about your journey, how you started as an artist, and you know, that gradual build to where you are today.
Evening, everyone. Well, first, I'm very shy. We're always behind the scenes, so it's hard to be on stage. But yeah, thank you for welcoming me and for giving me a stage today. Well, I would say I'm a Kasi boy. I grew up in Davidson. Well, in Davidson, I think in previous disadvantaged communities, creativity, I think it's something that we use to cope with. You find a lot of talent in those spaces. And not only painting, but soccer, Davidson, Soweto. So from my side, as an artist, I think it was a way to communicate to the world and to tell our soulful stories and to really let people in our spaces. So my work, from an early age, I would tell stories by drawing and allow people to know what's within, because I couldn't talk much. And my stories were heard, and finally I became an international artist. And yeah, that's it.
So right before we do the grand reveal, I want to also just find out about your current technique, you know, fumage and using smoke and things like that. Is that something that is common? Is that something unique? Tell me a little bit about that so that we can just appreciate the art a little bit more.
Oh, smoke is what I use. Literally, I use fire to paint with. The reason why I use fire is to really portray what's there and what's not. You can't catch fire, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, but I found a way to trap it on a canvas and let people see things that it's like documenting stories that you don't want to see and really portraying figures and appreciating people. Because what I do is my work depicts the community and going back to where it started, because we sit here today, we forget where we come from. We forget who we are. And my work goes back to those stories and really reinterpret who we are. Document the people, like your mothers on the street who would sell sweets. For them to do that, it's really, some people, they'll take it as some kind of a struggle, but I really look at it as a sacrifice. They can choose to go and sleep, but they wake up every morning just so their kids can stand here today, just so their kids can sit here today. So I document them as monuments, as sculptural figures in my work. So I portray them as these giants, and the city is always small in my work, and they carry a home. So the only home that I would paint is a home that I grew up in, which is a four-room house. The reason why I paint that is there are spaces that are politically pushed, where they are pushed so you can, in a way, degrade you. But I went back and celebrated them to say, it's a four-room house. We grew up there as a big family. But I learned what family is. To wake up every morning and see your brother here, your sister here, for me, that taught me to appreciate the next person. Because you grow up now and you have like big houses. It takes time for you to see even your siblings and to appreciate your people. So I portray a four-room house and showing people carrying it as a memory. So we all carry a house. As we walk, we contain memories in a house, in a certain space in our heart. So that's now how I portray everyone's spaces. And smoke itself is to document the spirit of those people. So we spend so much time focusing on the physical and we forgot who we are inside. So I portray that spirit, the person we are, not the person that we want people to see.
Fantastic indeed. You know, you mentioned that four-room house situation. You know, when you think of how we grew up and when you watch TV, normally the parents would say, "Hi, Sipo, go to your room." And with us, you would say, "Ah, Mama, this is the room." All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for the grand reveal. So you've got a beautiful painting for us, and we are now going to just get to see it and, of course, appreciate it. And I want you to really explain what the painting is all about once we actually reveal it. Are you guys ready for the reveal? All right, I want you guys to help me count it down. Let's go. 5, 4. Let's go. Wow, there we go. Okay, so let's, beautiful, beautiful stuff indeed. I want you to please talk to us about what we are looking at right here so that we can appreciate the finer detail of what it is. First of all, what's the title of the painting? And then who's this woman? Why is she carrying what she's carrying? And let's just explain everything.
Well, in most cases, a painting is explained by the viewer because your experience towards it is based on your experience of life. So if you see an image, it will revisit your memories and revisit everything that you have seen. When you look at it, it retells your story. But I'll tell you a story that I was portraying as I was working. So this piece for me, it represents the Lady Justice. So I've portrayed the Lady Justice in my own perception, which is the mothers I see on the street. So as you see, she carries the scale, the balance, but I use the homes that I grew up in. So the houses that I grew up in is what I usually use. And as she walks with pride because she's a queen. The African Duke, the head wrap is made of gold. So I've used, and she's wrapped with gold. So as much as we look at them and we feel pity, but they carry it with pride. They make sure that as they walk, you feel their presence. That's why even I always say it's quite interesting that they wake up every day in the morning, sit by the streets around 4 o'clock, but you'll never hear one of them being robbed. Instead, even the thugs protect them. That's how powerful they are. That's how they are understood in the spaces. So in this piece, it also, for me, it's also a reminder to everyone here to ask themselves, who are they serving? To remember also that you serving from the bottom rather than looking at the pocket. Because we tend to, as we all sit here, even myself as an artist, we tend to look at pockets. Who can pay me better? But we forget why we're doing what we're doing and how we started. So as this piece, it's titled Umakumete, the lady who works every day on the street. And she's standing here, she balances the piece as much as she's on the corner. If you look at the other side of the piece, it's the township, which is the 4-room. But it's dominated by the town. But the interesting thing about the piece is the story is told when it's dark. The figures appear, those that she protects, and those that stand before her and support her.
So I think the people sitting closest can appreciate that there's actually glow-in-the-dark paint that is also here. Things that are invisible to us right now, but as soon as all the lights go off, this painting actually transforms and it shows a different image as well. And as he's mentioning that when the lights go off, you start to see all the people she's working so hard for, all the people she's actually serving. And I think that makes this a really, really incredible work of art. I think that deserves a big round of applause. You know, just as you were talking about pockets, I heard somewhere in the front saying, can we auction it? It's like, yeah, what, 10,000. He's already. All right, no, fantastic stuff. So this is actually not going on auction, but it's actually something that you're donating to the Tshwane Society of Advocates. Is that true?
The truth is, the Tshwane, it's more like a community. Most of the guys here, they're more like my friends, right? They were there when I started. They were there from the beginning, when I was still a student here at TUT. So instead of them just donating it, me just donating it, they literally paid for it. So this is their permanent collection. Thank you.
Fantastic. On that note, can we please have some members of the society to please come and accept this fantastic painting on behalf of the society. So can we please welcome on stage the Deputy Chairperson, Kagiso Magano, as well as the Senior Counsel, Hasim, to please come on stage. Please give them a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for making the time to come and visit us and to come and witness this moment of TSA. We really appreciate it. On behalf of the TSA, Ntate Langa, re leboga go menagane ka puo ya bagolo ba ka. On that note, may I please, certain things are better and a message is better if it's portrayed or if it's sent by a senior counsel. On that note, may I please ask Soraya Hasim to say thank you to you, Ntate Langa.
Mr. Langa, what you present to us, I don't have words for. I'm pleased Kagiso didn't ask me to do a prepared speech because I wouldn't have been able to appreciate what you've given to us. So I don't think that tears are going to be an answer, and I don't think silence is going to be an answer. But looking at this, the first thing that comes, my eyes are pricking with tears because you say very, very clearly that it lies in the eyes of the beholder. I've never thought art as something that speaks, but she speaks. And my experience is, and I can only speak as a black woman, I see her as the mother, I see her as the daughter, I see her as the grandmother, and I see her as our nannies. A woman that represents the long, long, difficult road that our mothers have walked, that our sisters have walked, and our sisters are walking, and our daughters are walking, and they'll continue to walk. But what you give to us fits in so aptly with what Professor Pityana has said, what my colleagues have said, what Tembeka has said. You're asking us a question. This is the voice. So the TSA is going to be the voice of this woman who has carried our burdens. We're going to ask, and she's going to tell us, and she's going to remind us what our purpose is. She's going to remind us at the TSA that we all want to drive a Mercedes-Benz. I'm still waiting to buy my yellow Porsche, by the way. But I know, looking at her, that my Porsche really is very low on my list of priorities right now, because we've got to get to our purpose. And as lawyers, we've all wondered, or people have asked us, why do you want to become a lawyer? It's been very easy to say, we want to fight for the oppressed. Yeah, some of us do. Some of us feel very strongly about that. But let's try and remember there are people that look to us as lawyers to make a difference in society. So, Mama, we hear what you're telling us. And we pledge, the TSA pledges to you that we will remember our purpose. We will remember to be your voice and the voice of those that you have carried and that you will continue to carry. And so I pledge on behalf of my colleagues at the TSA that we look to you every day, and what we see in you is the justice we hope we can bring to society. Mr. Langa, there are no words to express our gratitude for this marvelous piece of work. It is, and she does speak. So I've now, the only thing I can now contribute are some tears, but as you might know, in the legal profession, that seemed to be a sign of weakness, but I have never, ever thought that of myself, and that I shed a tear, I'm very happy to share. So it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful piece. And it's my first ever experience of a painting that has moved me like this. So thank you for this, and we pledge. We pledge to Lady Justice, our Lady Justice, not the Lady Justice that the Western world knows, but this is our African, South African Lady of Justice. And we pledge to you that we will carry the struggles of Africans and South Africans. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our artist a big round of applause one more time. Thank you very much. These guys have a hard job. Mara, check the biceps, Baba. They were training this whole time. Stomach in, chest out, Buffett. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is how we come to the conclusion of our program. I think it has certainly been an absolutely fantastic way to mark a big milestone for the Tshwane Society of Advocates. So please give a big round of applause to everyone that has put this together. So ladies and gentlemen, so what we've just heard is that the food is gone. I'm joking. So we do indeed have that dinner that is prepared for each and every one of you. So thank you very much for staying until the conclusion of this program. It's going to be on the 3rd floor, and we'll be using the elevators to go up to there. So just to make sure that everything is done in an orderly manner, the ushers will, of course, first invite the judges to go up, and then everyone will go up in that like manner. So we will get that started in a short little while. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a plump, pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege being your host. The name is Weza that guy, signing out. Thank you so much.